I'm on site at Texas.js, about to go check out Tom hughes-croucher speaking
He also
at
likes
Texas.js.
Beach and raspberry cider, and having dynamic, high-quality introductions.
Fuck yeah. So, I love being on stages like this because I feel like a comedian. I do, right? I look like one. Thank you very much.
That bombed.
I'm a comedian. I can stop and drink a beer.
Woo.
Thank you. I'm here all night. Try the pork and remember to tip your waitress.
No?
I need a rim shot. None of you are laughing. All right, here we go. Yeah.
Need a rim
Thank you.
what?
So, I don't know. People can just roll in. I'm going to get going. I love Node. Node is amazing. So this is my talk. I use YUI because I work at Yahoo. And the opportunity to work at Yahoo helped me realize that it's actually a really nice framework once they made me use it for a while. I've been at Yahoo for 4 years, so that was very, very true for YUI 2, because everybody loves Java. It's a bit less true for YUI 3. But yeah, so YUI, a node signatory, SERVING, HTTP. I like it. This talk is going to be so awesome that I can do the whole thing in Comic Sans and you're still going to come away loving it. This is true. This is a fact. Come on, clicker. My clicker hates me. So, this is a guy, he actually works at Yahoo, so maybe he's a bit biased, but somebody told Dave Glass, who apparently doesn't have ease wherever he's from, but somebody told Dave about about Node, and now he's blowing Steve's mind with YUI and Node together. The thing for me is actually, he's blowing my mind as well. I mean, it's really, I don't know. I was on a plane and I have the facts. It's awesome. Bam! Right? This stuff is ridiculous. So, you know, there's a bit of hyperbole here. I'm being kind of flippant, but it really is pretty amazing. So, you know, Node is server-side JavaScript process, and it uses V8, and you know, it's non-blocking, it's event-driven, it's got CommonJS module format, blah, blah, blah. It's just awesome! All of that stuff, you already know this, right? I mean, hands up people that have already used Node in some capacity. So that's probably 50% of the audience. The rest of you, even if you don't have the opportunity to use Node in your real jobs, install Node. Node REPL is awesome, right? All of your command line stuff in JavaScript from now on. You know, hopefully none of you are using Perl. Maybe you're using Python, but you can trade Python and actually use Node REPL. It's awesome. So rather than, you know, I'm not going to do like a ton of detail about what Node is. It's awesome. That's basically it. So, you know, my very brief version of why Node is great. JSConf US 2010, Ryan had some graphs. Node is this fast. Yeah, no, I love UTF-8 because you have all these kind of random bullshit things you can do. You know, originally this version had snowmen there, but I found hands in the end. So this is the graph that Ryan showed at JSConf EU. Smaller is better. These are kind of equivalent servers. So Nginx is the thing that's written in C that only serves, it just serves web pages really fast. That's the only thing it does. Doesn't have any kind of logic. And then you can see that Node is in the middle, and then there's the Thin, which is the Ruby, and Tornado, which is the Python. So JavaScript wins! Everybody say, woo! So Node's really fast. But Ryan, not being content with that, Ryan doesn't really do that stuff. Ryan is really he's really smart, but this is now the Node performance dashboard. Now, for every operating system, there's a big ton of graphs that look like this. And actually, Tim's up front. Tim's going to talk about Node later. Node it's going to take over the world, because when you have a man that feels it's necessary for every build, every night, to have this, it's going to be fast. It's scary fast. So this is, Node is just great. So okay, so, you know, why do this whole thing at all? Why server-side JavaScript? We're all JavaScript programmers. I hope so. Hands up, who's a JavaScript programmer?
Woo!
Right. Hands up, who got the line underneath JavaScript programmers? Wow.
Fail.
Okay. Hands up the people that think that evaluates to true. Hands up the people that thinks it evaluates to false. Okay. Wow. Hands up the people that know how to test stuff in JavaScript. All right, I'm going to diverge from my talk track and let's do it in Node REPL. Oh, it's clipping. Hold on. Can you all see that now? It's an automatic thing.
Oh!
I'm kidding, she loves me. Wow, I really am like a comedian now. Now I'm like really on the edge of kind of...
There's tomatoes left over.
I know, right? I honestly, I didn't pick this name. I have another box called Captain Cook. You know, it's just whatever two random words they throw together.
If you make the last one greater than equals, it'll evaluate to true.
Yeah, so, well, this is the cool thing. So this is basically Brian, who's over there filming me. Because I asked him to, it's consensual, don't worry. So Brian started this website called What the Fuck JS. Are you going to talk about that later?
Maybe a bit.
Maybe a bit. So What the Fuck JS collects all the kind of random stuff about JavaScript, so this is kind of cool. So 3 is greater than 2 is greater than 1. Doesn't work, it evaluates to false. And there's kind of, you know, there are reasons for that, but one of the things that I think is really great is if you start wrapping brackets, that's false, but that's true. I'm not going to tell you why. You're going to have to figure it out. It's an exercise for the audience. So go home and play with that and kind of figure out why that's like that. But it's kind of fun. I think it's cool. JavaScript has all these kind of weird, interesting little defects, as Doug would call them. But it makes it fun to be a JavaScript programmer. So, you know, we're all JavaScript programmers. Hopefully, after the talk, you'll get this joke. But that's that. So the massive code base. This is the reasons why we want to use server-side JavaScript. The massive, massive code base of YUI and other libraries. Hands up, people that use YUI. Okay, so a few people. Good on you. I appreciate the charitable hand up, even if you don't use it. Just try to make you feel more comfortable. Hands up, people that use jQuery. Bah.
That was like everybody.
I'm kidding. No, I mean, this is the thing, right? You guys use whatever works for you, but what we can't argue about is that there's so much heritage in the libraries, right? There's so much code, there's so much use, either in the libraries or, you know, around it. So there's all of this stuff that we have, and it's like, wow, maybe if we could just use that, it would be helpful. And then the third reason is laziness, or I'm sick of writing stuff twice. Really, you know, I just want to sit around in my pants. I'm British. Pants means the things underneath my pants. But yeah, I just want to sit around in my pants, right? I go to incredible lengths to do stuff with less effort. So I spend way more effort getting to the place where I then spend less effort for the thing that I do twice a month. You know, that's like a programmer thing, I think. But, you know, for us writing professional code, it's really important because, you know, hands up people that use JavaScript to write client-side code on web pages. Everybody, because do we have a choice? VB script. Hands up people that use VB script. Right.
What about Flash?
What about Flash?
I was just kidding.
I don't even need to heckle you. The audience heckled you. But this is the thing. You know, hands up now people that use PHP to do their... Okay, so a few people Ruby. Okay, a few people Python. A few people, right? Node, does anybody, or JavaScript? So a few people, scattering of people. The point is that right now, all the people that use PHP, we use that at Yahoo a lot, Ruby, Python, Perl maybe? Maybe anybody uses Perl? Sorry. So somebody, whoever's closest, give those people a hug. But do it sensitively because they obviously have no people skills. But this is the thing, right? Is we all code in these different languages. I hate coding in lots of, I mean, I don't particularly, lots of people hate PHP, I don't particularly hate PHP. You know, PHP gets stuff done, right? It's ugly as sin, but, you know, I get stuff done. It makes me fairly productive. But the thing that I really want, the thing that would make me happiest beyond all other things, is if I could write the whole of all of it in JavaScript, then not only would I get way better at JavaScript, but I wouldn't have to write all of these things many times over. And more than that, if we go back to the previous 2 points, you know, there are all the people in this room and in our various companies that already know JavaScript really well, and we have all of these libraries that we could use to do the laziness thing a lot better. Laziness rocks. And then my final and fourth reason is progressive enhancement. It's free. Because we have all these, you know, these 2 languages that we code in, you know, or maybe 3 or whatever, but if you write all your server stuff in something that's not JavaScript, you know, writing the validation for forms, we have to do that because it's for security, right? You don't want somebody to do like SQL injection. That's okay, that makes sense. But the other stuff just kind of falls away. Yeah, well, there isn't really an HTML fallback, whatever. Everybody has JavaScript turned on, right? That's kind of stupid. There's always some guy at the front with his phone. Hello? No, you should answer it. Come on, let me have the phone. We're going to call that person back. I don't know why he's nervous, you know. I seem like a perfectly nice individual. So basically, I like to think of this one as, you know, what would Crockford do, right? Do the right thing. We want to do the right thing, but when we use other languages, it's like you have to build the thing twice. Nobody wants to build it twice. So if we have the ability to build it once with JavaScript and run it in both places, you know, I mean, I'd say it's not free. You know, maybe there's like 10% glue code, you know, 10% that's different between both things. But hopefully, the vast majority of the code that we use works both on the server and the client. So we get progressive enhancement for almost nothing. So, you know, remember, start tattooing on yourselves. What would Crockford do? WWCD. So the TLDR version of that, JavaScript, server-side JavaScript is awesome, like a unicorn riding a narwhal. Thank you, thank you. Don't clap yet. Clap now. Oh yeah. I'm just going to leave this one to hang for a minute. All right, I think I'm done. So YY3. YY3 is awesome like a narwhal riding a unicorn. Oh yeah. So what do we like about YY3? It's modular. It's sandbox. So what I mean by modular is you can use, I mean obviously everything's split into like really atomic components. So unlike YUI2, you know, we had some like broad brush sections. You know, I want the calendar, I want this, I want that. In YUI3, things are like really atomic. You can just be like, I just want the Ajax bit that just works with JSONP. I don't want the rest of it that does, you know, XHR Ajax, I don't care. Really atomic. It's very modular, you can dynamically load that stuff in and out. It's sandbox. You can run multiple YUI3 instances on the same web page or in the same server environment. You can run YUI2 instances inside YUI3 on the same page, and they're independent so that they don't kind of screw each other up. That's pretty cool. The component loading is great. You can just, it's YUI.use whatever component you want, and it grabs it, and it figures out what the dependency tree is. So you don't have to go, yeah, well, today I want to use this, so I have to figure out all the things I need. You just be like, yeah, I want the calendar. Get me everything that's required in order for me to use the calendar, and it just poof, does. I should use, whenever I have like a proper microphone like this, instead of the Perl, poof, the voice of God. I like that. Just a little thing I do. And then, you know, I mean, I guess like other libraries, but we have, you know, because we build this for Yahoo primarily, right? We build something and then we share it because we hope it's useful for you. But, you know, we have a team of like maybe 10 or 15 guys. I don't know, Ryan, how big's the team? There he is. It's about 15 people that work on this. 15 people. And they're, you know, they're really quite smart. You know, if Crockford respects our JavaScript team, they must be okay, right? A little bit? Not even a teeny bit?
Yes.
Yes,
Right.
thank you, one person. So, and then we have the community, right now, YY3, 50 plus extensions, blah, 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 right? So, and then it's not just about manipulating the DOM, there's lots of other stuff in there. So that's cool, right? That's my very brief YY3 pitch. Script loading, remote I/O, events and attributes, all the kind of stuff that you expect from a library, right? This is awesome. And it's awesome, like the unicorn, or the narwhal riding the unicorn. I hadn't forgotten. You know, and obviously we have a rainbow. Can't really tell, but we have a rainbow. So how do we get this running on Node? So this is the primary focus of the talk. How do we actually get this stuff to be useful? So the first thing is that who's heard of CommonJS? Hands up, people that've heard of CommonJS. Okay, out of the people, keep your hands up. Okay. Put your hand down if you don't know about the require spec. Okay, so out of the people that have heard of CommonJS, maybe half of the people that have know about require. So this is the way that CommonJS works. Yeah, you don't have to keep it up anymore. Unless your armpits are all sweaty and you want to share that with your neighbors. The way that this works is basically in the server-side JavaScript world, if you want to use a module, you say, I want to require that module. And how that looks on the module side is like this. So I say if type of exports, so we have an exports array or an exports object is an object, then exports.yyy equals yyy. So it's really simple. I basically tell the module that's, so the JavaScript that's going to pull this in is just going to look for the exports object, and then it's going to use that to get all of the things that it can use. So it looks like this. We're now doing some stuff where we're changing the function. So you can see that we're changing the way that logging's happening so that we're now logging into the server. So where's my pointer? The useless clicker. So sys.error, some of this stuff. You don't have to know all this stuff really well, but sys.inspect is Node stuff. It basically turns an object into a string literal of that object, so you can kind of see what it's doing. And then sys.log is outputting, and sys.error is outputting to the console. So we've done two things, right? It's really, this is how easy it was to get YY3 running on Node. Was the first thing we did was we exported it. The second thing we did was we fixed the logging. Fin. That was it. That was literally all it took to get YY3 running on Node, which is awesome. Because now we can do this. I'm British. Hello, world. Gavin. Apples and pears, mate. You have to mix it up, because otherwise a hello world example is So I quite like doing this style, and actually this style is becoming fairly popular for the people that are doing server-side JavaScript at Yahoo. And it's basically, you can just not include this line, but if you put the hashbang in, it means that you can just run these with like dot slash the script name, and it will call Node for you, so you don't have to type Node blah 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 script. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, I don't know, I just prefer that. So if you're using a Node already, this is kind of a neat trick. And then all we do is we're doing this require thing. So this is the CommonJS thing, right? var YUI equals require. We then point to the library that we want to load, and then .yyui. So if you remember, we exported the YUI object into the exports object. So we're saying we just want, out of this module, we want to load the YUI function, right? And then we do y equals YUI, y.log. Hello world. And then clicker really doesn't want to click. Maybe it's the stand. Yeah, I don't know. I like the fact that my radio clicker needs direct line of sight, apparently. No. Apparently it needs to be within like 30 centimeters. Okay, so we did that, and then you can see that we can also do it this way. So this is more like YUI style with chaining, which is cool if you like chaining. So require .blah blah blah .yyui.log. So chaining also works, right? If you run either of these, it's like that, /, and then it's logging. So far, this is a really dumb example, but you can start to see that doing this whole server-side JavaScript thing is fairly easy. And particularly if you've used YUI before, you know, I have access to all of these YUI tools that I'm familiar with, so that's great for me. Maybe it's less useful for other people, but hopefully some of this stuff is going to translate into the libraries that you like best too. Not that I don't recommend giving YUI 3 a try. So the thing that's great, or one of the things that's great about YUI 3 is we have our own loader, right? We have our own module system, and we have all of these modules that do stuff. So the next thing that we do is we enable the YUI loader, and you can see that what we're doing here is we're taking some of the stuff that typically we would be doing XHR requests for, and now we're swapping them so that we're actually now using Node's inbuilt systems, right? So now we can write a script like this. And I start pointing at stuff. So we require YUI again, same thing, and then we have this YUI object. We've put a filter, so when we've initialized the object, we pass it a config, and the config is literally filter debug. So I want all the debugging information. And then YUI.use. So this is, I want YUI to go and get me a bunch of modules that I can use while I'm programming. And we tell it we want to do the custom event. And we then give it a callback. So after it's required in that module, so after it's gone and fetched the module, it's then going to bring it back as a callback. So we're going to create a custom event, y.on, pwned, or owned, function, and then y.log, never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down. You've all been rickrolled. Yeah, didn't expect that, did you? That meme will never die. So yeah, and then we fire the event. I guess you can't see because it's behind the lectern, but I fire the event down here. And then I run it, and you get a big load of debugging output. And I guess you can't see at the bottom, but you did get rickrolled. I'm not sure if it counts. There you go, look, here it is. Never gonna let you down. I don't know the rest of the words, which is probably a good thing. Does anybody else want to join in? No? Blank slide. Random. Okay, so what about other stuff? So this is a really good example of, did anybody see the talk earlier that Joe McCann did? Anybody? Okay, a few people. This is a good example of using YQL. So one of the things that's cool is we have this service called YQL that goes and fetches data from the internet. Anybody like the internet? No? Like the internet, the tubes? And what we're doing here is we're using the fact that we already have a bunch of stuff baked into YUI, so we don't have to write it again. This is the important thing. The fact that we're using YQL is kind of cool but tangential. The important thing here is that in this code sample, I have included a bunch of modules that people have written for YUI 3, and I don't have to write any of this stuff again because it's already cooked for me, which is awesome, because I'm lazy, right? So YUI 3 is included. We include that, and we require sys. So sys is the node system module, and then we do YUI.use JSON. So hello, I would like the JSON module, please. I would like gallery-YQL. And this one's kind of interesting because gallery-YQL is actually hosted on a server, and it's the community-contributed modules. So it's the community-contributed module for YQL. It's not a core module of YUI. It's one that's hosted separately. And you could download it locally and store that too, but in actual fact, this would go off to the server and retrieve it and pull it back. But you can see that this is, anybody could write their own module and include it. The next thing we do is we do a function where y is the YUI object, create a variable q, so select star from github.user.info where id equals APM. It's one of my colleagues. And what we're doing here is we're doing like this kind of SQL-like statement to collect data. And then we create a new event object, so new y.yql query, and then when it fires, do stuff, and we're going to inspect it. So we're going to do sys.inspect to serialize the object to text. So sys.put, sys.inspect. And this is, I mean, Tim will tell you, this is like a pattern that Node programmers use all the time. It's just like the dumb way of kind of printing data out to the screen. So if I run this, right, what happens is we run it, and we get a log that tells us, oh, hey, I went to YQL, query.yahoo.apis.com, and I went to this URL and I fetched a bunch of data, and then it does that sys.log, sys.inspect, and it gives me, this is the JSON that it returned. So you can see that, I mean, the query that we had was select from GitHub, was it select star from github.user.info. So tell me about this user on GitHub, and you can see that we've gone and fetched Adam's information and his login and his gravatar and all of that stuff. And then there's a bunch more stuff that I've actually kind of abbreviated in that output, but so that it felt on the side. But you can see that, you know, immediately, I've not written any YQL stuff. I believe one of my other colleagues, a guy called Derek, wrote like a node module for YQL, which is cool. But if there wasn't a node module for YQL, I could use the YY one. So this is the point: is we have all of this heritage from libraries that is available because we're starting to use those libraries on the server. So the DOM's, it's bomb. It's a terrible pun, should be punished. So what about the DOM? So, I mean, we said that YY isn't all about the DOM, but there's tons, I mean, like, so much stuff which is really DOM-centric. There's loads of stuff. I mean, like, you know, most of the stuff that we do when we actually code in browsers is to do with the DOM, right? Yeah? I mean, would people agree that like, DOM stuff's fairly important? Yes. Everybody look at me blankly. Yes. I win! So being able to use, you know, this stuff on the server means that we have some really good stuff, right? So how about this? So Dave, who did a lot of this work originally, he pulled together 2 open source projects. So this is the bit that gets me unreasonably excited. This is the bit that I'm like, right? This is, you know, my unicorn and narwhal thing. This is like the thing that I'm like, oh my god, this is so good. And, you know, if you forget any of the rest of the talk, think about the possibilities of this kind of stuff, right? So he put together JS DOM. So it's basically a project, it's about 2,000 lines of JavaScript that implement DOM level 1. Do people know what I mean by DOM level 1? Does anybody know? Nobody doesn't know. Awesome. Your double negative has convinced me that I should continue. He doesn't know. Okay, DOM level 1 is basically, it's the main DOM interactions that you do where you collect and set stuff from the DOM. If you need a BOM, is actually the stuff above that, so like inner and outer HTML. So we create a BOM too. Stuff like window and navigator and like those kinds of things are the BOM, the browser object model. And we created those as well on top. But then we also had an HTML parser in order to do the inner HTML, right? So there's a few basic things that we needed. So we needed these 2 components. I mean, I guess I didn't put the BOM in here, but we added that in order to kind of make this work. But now we've got a sort of a server-side browser-ish environment. It's not exactly a browser, but you know, we've got some good stuff. So DOM, you can't really read the top, but okay, so DOM, element creation and manipulation, we can do that. And then we can also do selectors. Hands up, people that like selectors, right? All the people that said that they liked jQuery earlier and didn't put their hands up are now either lazy or lying. I'm going to go for lying because you look shifty. I know, right? Insulting the audience, that always wins for you. So the other thing, and just to make it really confusing, we had a module called Node before Node existed, Node.js existed. So we have this thing called the Node API, which is basically, it's like the selector DOM manipulation engine stuff for YY3. Confusing, but whatever. In simple, here's an example of creating a browser on the server. That's cool. Right? This is really sick. So we've got the usual stuff, creating the environment, requiring a bunch of stuff. So we're requiring system and HTTP from Node, and we're requiring URL. We're also requiring YUI, right? So we got YUI. We then require the NodeJS DOM implementation. So this is a custom module specifically to do this. And we require Node. So Node here, remember, is the DOM manipulation functions of YUI3. Nothing to do with Node the server, per se. And then this is where it gets really cool. So var document equals y.browser.document. So from the NodeJS DOM, we're creating a browser document. We're creating the browser navigator. So y.browser.navigator, window, y.browser.window, right? We now have what the library perceives to be a browser, right? If you have a window object and you have a document object and you have a navigator object, you've got a browser. It's cool. And then we create a server. So this is the sort of, I'm not going to go into too much detail about the Node stuff, but we create an HTTP server in Node, right? And then we can now make requests at this and serve out a body. So page1.body, so 1 in YUI3 is basically, if you're all used to doing like $selector. In YUI3, you do either .1 or .all. .1 gives you the first of something, .all gives you all of them. But we get the 1 body, and then we add a class YUI skin SAM to it, and then we create some elements, and we do some other stuff, right? So we just, we go through and we create a bunch of stuff. And what this leads us to is we can actually render HTML. So let me show you this example. Hopefully my internet will work. Oh.
Fail.
I'm just going to make silly noises, yeah, while I load up. Here's an example I made earlier. There you go.
Woo!
Woohoo! Oh, wait. Yeah, that looks incredibly impressive because you can't see the URL bar. Yeah, it looks incredibly impressive altogether. Oh my god, it's a calendar. Right, this is what you've been waiting for your entire lives. But seriously, so actually, you know what? How long have I got? When's my talk finish, Adam?
10 minutes. 9 minutes.
9 minutes? Okay, we're gonna go a wee bit faster, but okay. Okay, so this is, I've been hacking on this a little bit, but this is the code that renders this. Is that big enough for people? Can you read that?
Yes.
Okay, so in essence, what we're doing here, and maybe it's in the slides, but if there are, I'll skip it. In essence, you can see that we require all of that stuff, and then we do here, page.use YUI2 calendar, right? So if I go over here somewhere, I had, okay, this is the page, which is like the default quick start for the calendar, and you can see there's some code here. Make that bigger. There we go. There's some code here which just initiates a calendar, and it's literally you create a new calendar, and then you call render, right? And over here, we do a bunch of stuff, and we create a new calendar, and then we basically, instead of calling render, because we're doing it on the server, we don't want to create a bunch of event calls and stuff like that. So instead, I've added a bunch of stuff so all of this code underneath. What we're doing here is we just wrote some custom code that goes and creates the physical links. Right? So on my localhost example, right, if I click 23, it highlights it. If I page back and forth, it's just loading all this on the server, and you can see the URL is changing. The reason this is really important is because the core rendering, the core functionality, all of the stuff that I did, including you can see all of the render that I've done here is subscribed to the YUI3 calendar's render event, right? All I'm doing is I loaded up the calendar component that we use for the front end, and then I just changed a few things in order to make it render progressively, right? In the future, I see us writing all of our widgets so that they'll run both on the server and on the client. This is incredible, right? All of the stuff that does, like the calendar, right? That knows how to format that and does all of that stuff. I didn't write it. I just included it. It seems like a really boring demo, but the possibilities of this are crazy. So we load it in. So we load in the YUI2 into the YUI3 project. It's fully rendered on the server. There's no scripts, so I rendered all of the HTML on the server and then pushed it out using the render that was already in the calendar. And now I changed it so that it's round trips. So if scripts are enabled, what we can do is we can say, well, let's load the HTML in, and then let's chuck a script on the top that reads the HTML and then turns it into an AJAX calendar. But now we've got progressive enhancement. So if you know, the users on a slow connection, they get a fully working calendar before the rest of the scripts are loaded. So there's all these possibilities that we can do. The other example, again, this is kind of, it's really boring. So this is, oh, I don't have this one locally. Oh, I guess I do. Maybe I do. I'm not going to do it locally. Screw it. Do questions instead. But basically, so my incredibly exciting screenshot, you've got it as a full page, or, so that this is the content here, or we can load the JSON, so we can, this is rendered through JSON, or we can just say, well, I want that as JSON, or I want it as rendered HTML. So ideally what would happen, and again I can't show you it, but this URL should be live. What?
It is working.
It is working? Okay, it's just my computer's broke, whatever. I know, it's a Mac, it's probably the Mac's fault. I like making that joke because it's ironic, because yeah, normally people are like, oh yeah, it's my Windows computer. That'll teach them. But the point here is that if you, this code is rendered with some JSON. So we wrote some rendering stuff on the server, but it can also serve the JSON, or it can just serve the rendered HTML or whatever, right? So there's a bunch of stuff. So the first response renders the entire page. A client without scripts can get the fully rendered page. A script-enabled client can just say, I want the new content. And you could also say, I want the JSON, and I'm going to use the same code, the same JavaScript that you use to render it on the server, to render it on the client. And actually, Kyle, where's Kyle? Is he around? No. I guess he's seen this talk before, maybe. I don't know. He's in track C? Okay. So Kyle is doing a talk later on, and you have to, unfortunately, you're going to have to pick between Brian and Kyle, but Kyle's doing a talk where he talks about running the same kind of UI rendering code on client and server, and it's this idea. And then finally, just like a few other random ideas that we thought would be cool. A fast utility layer for working with YY tests. So I know Huggins is around. He likes doing stuff with tests. What about using this to do smoke tests, right? You commit some code to your version repository, and it goes, oh hey, actually that doesn't work because I've got a DOM and I can tech it. Right? If you had to like spin up Firefox headlessly and like test everything on every commit, it would be it would take forever. So this is really fast. Like Node's like it's like crazy fast. So you could literally have it do smoke tests as you're creating stuff. We even think we could just inject like known browser quirks, so we could fake it so it looks like a fake IE and tell you. And oh my god, she's dragging me off. So summary: YY3's design made it really easy to do this. JavaScript libraries are awesomely valuable on the server, and if we get a DOM, it just gets incredible. So there's some resources, you can look at them later. Today's presentation was brought to you by the Let's JNS, by the fonts Comic Sans and Monofur, which I really like for coding. And yeah, please go and rate me and all of that. Questions? Talking fast. Anybody? I blew all your minds. That guy. Does Yahoo have any long-term plans to use Node? Yes, but I can't tell you what they are yet, because they're secret. But yes, there are some really big projects that are currently very far along the lines of kind of playing with Node as an awesome way to do stuff. But yes, we do. We really like it. Yes?
Sorry if you mentioned this, but is the YUI like non-DOM components, are they separated from the...
So the question is, I should repeat the question as well. The previous question was, does Yahoo have any long-term plans with Node? This question is, are the non-DOM components separated from the DOM components? And yes, every module and every part of every module is componentized in YUI3. So you can just be, you can just get tiny slices of whatever you want. The only thing you need is like the core kernel, the core Yahoo kernel, in order to pull the rest of them in. But yes, it's all componentized, modularized. Anybody else? No? It's back. I can't see you. Okay. Have you seen the Node HTML5 parser? Have I seen the Node HTML5 parser? Yeah. No. That was easy.
It's like the other Node HTML parser, but it's actually, you can send a string to it iteratively, you don't have to send the entire string.
Okay. So it's like it's a stream-based parser, which is cool. So I mean, this is really new, right? I mean, this is like a couple months old at most. So we're still working on it, and I haven't had any time to write more shiny demos, but I will. Anybody else? Hands up people that are going to use Node soon. Yeah, there you go. Woo! Right. Awesome. What's next? Thank you. I could stand up here and tell more jokes if you want.
Okay. I actually have a serious question. If you get an itch on the bottom of your toe, but you're wearing shoes, what do you do? Anyone who wants to talk to me about that, I seriously need advice.